Thank you all for being here. Thank you for those of you who have stayed all the way through, although I got to say I miss hearing little voices. As the father of 9, this has been a constant sound in my life for a long time. I apologize for my voice. You're getting half the voice from me that you would normally get. But I was about ready, waiting for the altar call, actually. That was awesome. I do appreciate you being here. Let me tell you just briefly about myself. I grew up in the country. I'm the only one in this race on either side of the aisle that grew up below the poverty level. And I'm grateful for the fact that although we grew up with very humble financial means, what we were raised with is a couple things that are critical that have held me in good stead my entire life. I was raised with a good work ethic, and understanding that your word is your bond. When you tell somebody you're going to do something, you do it. This is how I was raised by my father and mother. I'm grateful as well for the fact that I was raised with strong Christian values. And I will tell you, this is a civic position for which I'm running. I understand that. But I am very unapologetic about the fact that my Christian faith defines my entire decision-making process. As a husband, as a father, as a business person, and how I'll be as your next governor if you afford me that opportunity. I will take those Christian values with me to Frankfort, Kentucky, and I will be unapologetic for those. I'm humbled as I look around here in the VFW. I look at these flags on the wall. I think of the sacrifices that have been made to give us this opportunity. How blessed we are to be in a country, to be in a state, to be in a building, in a county, here in Meade County, where we can pray in the name of Jesus, where we don't walk out of here concerned about what's going to happen to us. The sacrifices that have been made by the men and women who these flags around us represent. 1.5 million of our fellow Americans have given their lives on the battlefield so that we have the ability to gather here, compete against one another for your votes, and to be able to have civil discourse and to walk out of here in safety. And I challenge you, please don't take this for granted. I'm guessing that the fact that you all are here tells me that you probably won't. But you know 1, 3, 5, 10, and 20 other people that probably don't even know there's a primary on May 19th, and who may not take the time to vote. I challenge you, tell them about this. Encourage them to vote. It's the greatest privilege we have. There's guys that I served with that are dead, whose kids are growing up without a dad. Don't fail to appreciate the sacrifices that have been made. This is what makes us exceptional as a nation. It truly is. Talk about the exceptionalism of America. This is what makes us exceptional. Every single one of us has the ability to go into the ballot box. I paid 100% of my way through college. I'm the only candidate that did that. I say it simply because it was the only way I was going to get to college. I went to Washington and Lee University. I got out and I went into the military. I have jumped out of planes. It was back in the 80s when I was in the military. I haven't jumped out as recently as you, I'll give you that. But I tell you, I'm grateful to have served this nation in uniform. I served for a number of years on active duty. First time I came to Kentucky, actually, was 25 years ago when I was stationed at Fort Knox. And I remember at that time thinking if I ever had an opportunity to come back here and plant my roots and raise my family, I would do so. And it wasn't many years after that, about 8 years later, 17 years ago, that I had a chance to do exactly that. Our oldest daughter of our 9 children was 2 months old at the time. Since then, we've added 8 more to the crew, and we are very blessed. We really are. But this is part of why I'm in this race. People ask me, why do you want to be governor? I'm running to be governor of Kentucky because I love Kentucky. We can hear all the problems, and we know the problems. We see the problems that are around us. We know it. I could give you a long litany of what ails us. We know the things that ail us. What are we going to do about it? What are we going to do about it? Every one of you came here tonight. Every one of you is gathered here because in some measure, you want a better Kentucky. And so do I. Every one of us wants better opportunities for our children and grandchildren. My question to you is, how badly do you want it? How badly do you want it? Because if you don't want it as badly as those who risked their lives to come here hundreds of years ago seeking freedom and liberty, if you don't want it as badly as those who, if they were lucky enough to have shoes at Valley Forge in 1776, they had to eat those shoes to keep from starving to death. If we don't want it as badly as the men and women who are represented by these various armed services, the ones who gave their lives for us, if we don't want it that badly, we don't deserve a better future. Think about it. It will require sacrifice of each and every one of us. I'm weary of hearing people talk about how jobs and opportunities and our children and grandchildren are going to Tennessee and going to South Carolina and going to Texas. I mean, God bless Texas, but have any of you ever been to Texas in July or August? I have. You don't want to be there then. Why not Kentucky? Why not Kentucky? I'm a small business owner. This is what I do. I employ people. Even now, I employ scores and scores of people. I pay them millions of dollars a year in payroll, in benefits. This is what I love to do. When I was a kid, I was grateful when my dad had a job. He worked at a shoe factory. It burned down. His next job was working at a McDonald's. He had 4 of us kids at the time. And I remember at a young age being appreciative of the fact that him having a job meant a tremendous difference in our family. I've never forgotten that. I have been very blessed. I have truly lived the American dream. But I keep a picture in my office of the house I grew up in, because I think it's important to literally and figuratively never forget where you come from. And I'm grateful for the fact we grew up raising crops and raising animals, and I've not forgotten where I come from. I want to fight for the state of Kentucky. I want to continue to create jobs, as this is what I've done. I am a job creator. There are 4 great candidates, and I will tell you, I truly believe that unlike the past, when it was some poor sucker on the Republican side that got put up to be chewed up in November, this November, the sacrificial lamb is going to be a guy named Jack Conway. I'm pretty confident. And our job collectively is to make sure that happens. But the question you are then faced with is, which of the 4 of us is best able to take this message forward? Which of the 4 of us is most able to successfully beat Jack Conway, and then most critically, actually do the job? Because there are 3 parts. You got to win the primary, you got to win the general elections, and then you actually have to do the job itself. Who among us is qualified? That's just super quick on some real differences. The pension crisis, we've all heard of people talk about it tonight. I'm the only one in this race that's ever worked in the pension business. I understand this. I've done this for the last 25 years. 20-some years ago, I was an investment consultant, 2 pension plans. I started a firm here in Kentucky, initially in the basement of my own home, that today manages more than $5 billion in pension assets. This is what I do. This is what I understand. I'm a veteran. I'm one of only 2 veterans that are running for governor, myself and Will T. Scott. It doesn't matter to some, but it matters to some in this room. It matters to the people that built this building, the people who assemble here. It matters to 340,000 of our fellow citizens. I'm the one who has taken the point on a number of things like the Connect program. I'm just telling you straight up, I will dismantle the Connect program in the state of Kentucky. We cannot afford to do otherwise. And while others in this race have been back and forth and whippled and waffled and flipped and flopped, I am as clear as I can possibly be. In my first year as governor, if you give me that opportunity, I will transition people from the state level exchange to the federal level exchange, and then we will dismantle it. I don't need legislative approval any more than our current governor needed it to saddle us with this thing that we cannot afford. And I will shut it down before the end of 2016, because starting the very next day in January of 2017, it starts to come at a price to us in the hundreds of millions of dollars a year that we cannot afford, and that's why I will do it. I will lead the charge personally to repeal Common Core in the state of Kentucky. I will lead the charge on that because it is not serving our young people. We need metrics, but we need to re-empower the teachers. There's probably teachers in this room. You've been turned into administrators. You've been turned into test providers. We're robbing teachers of the ability to take kids from 1st grade to 2nd grade, from 7th grade to 8th grade. They know how to teach. They don't need to be overridden by all this government bureaucracy. I will lead the charge on these things. On taxes, why do we have a death tax in this state? Why are we sticking it to people to the tune of 16% if you have the mismanaged timing of passing away in this state? The people who have the ability to move are moving. And guess what? When they take themselves and their money with them, what else do they take? They take their children, their grandchildren, and those opportunities. We've got to stop being our own worst enemy. We can be better than this. This is where I want to lead. Thomas Edison once noted that most people in life miss opportunity because it usually shows up in overalls and looks like hard work. And that's true enough. It really is. We've got some hard work ahead of us, but we've got great opportunity. Great opportunity. Why not Kentucky? Why not Kentucky? I love to create jobs. I own companies that make everything from metal stamping. I make all the bells for the Salvation Army. I have other companies that make medical devices. One here in Kentucky that just 2 months ago, last month actually, got approval for, FDA approval for a medical device related to earlier detection of Alzheimer's. I make LED signs, investment management, composite materials. This is what I do, software. I love to create jobs. I love to take ideas. I want to do this on behalf of Kentucky. Selfishly, I love my own children. I want them to have what I had. Since I moved here 17 years ago, one of my brothers and his family's moved here, my sister and her family, my parents have moved here. So while I'm not originally from here, I'm doing the best I can. I tell people I may not have been born here. I got as quick as I could. I got here, and I've been doing the best to spread the word. I love this state. We could be so much better. Why not Kentucky? We could be a beacon on a hill to this entire region of the country and to the country as a whole. We've got to make some hard decisions. I would encourage you, please, go to mattbevin.com, mattbevin.com. You can read my blueprint for a better Kentucky. It's very specific. It lays out my thoughts. I'll leave with this one thought. You do only get to pick one. Which of us, of those in the race, would you like to have sitting across the table from another governor of another state, negotiating on things that are ultimately, hopefully, to the advantage of Kentucky in some form or fashion? Which of us would you trust to sit down with the CEOs of corporations that are thinking of coming here? I've been that CEO. I understand this. This is the world in which I work. I pray for two things for my children. I pray for two very specific things repeatedly for my children. I pray that they will have wisdom, because we live in a world where there's a lot of miscommunication, a lot of craziness. We're telling young people in particular that up is down and in is out and right is wrong. We're sucking up all the oxygen in towns like Frankfurt, worrying about which bathroom a kid is going to use in the public schools. This is crazy. So I pray that my children will know the right thing to do. But additionally, I pray that they will have the courage to then actually do it. Because it's sometimes easy to know the right thing to do, and it's a lot harder to actually have the courage to do it. And this is my prayer for each of you as well, that you will know in this race, by following closely, which of us